Brandon here from B2R Investing and Financial Talk. Today's topic, I want to talk about a recent purchase in the last 30 days. People say it can't be found. You can't find properties that cash flow. You can't find properties that hit the 1% rule or even better than the 1% rule out there on the market today. I want to tell you a story about a recent purchase right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area that happened within the last 30 days. Listen to this story. Maybe it'll give you an idea. Like and subscribe. Today, I want to visit and share with you, out there right now, you're seeing a lot of people say that it can't be found or it's very hard to find properties that cash flow. Well, I want to share a story today that just happened in the last 30 days and how this investor, this new friend of mine, found a property not only that cash flowed, but I said got to the fourth level of wealth. The first level is just being able to generate income. The second level is being able to hold on to some of that income and be able to build wealth. The third level, that high school level, it's now being able to create a little bit of wealth and begin growing this wealth. And here he got to the fourth level, is being able to find a property that he did not have to put money down to create the equity. He saw the value in it, making a few small structural changes to it and created instant equity out of thin air. Some of y'all know I do manage properties here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he's a new friend that asked us to manage the property and to help him create more value. As we were looking at the property, we noticed this was a 3-unit property, 2 3-bedrooms and 1 2-bedroom. But it had 2 exterior doors to one of the bedrooms that had an ensuite bathroom. We made a few changes to the property, few doors, few mini splits, cabinets, couple of countertops, couple of air fryers, and we changed this property from a 3-unit property to a 5-unit property. So it went from cash flow of $3,700 a month to cash flow of $4,850 a month. Now he paid $400,000 for it, so it cash flowed just a little bit with 25% down. But for an extra $15,000 for these small little changes, couple of changes to make these 2 bedrooms into 2 1-unit apartments, we now generated an extra $1,100 in cash flow. Now it creates tremendous cash flow within 60 days of his purchase to where he's making a high over 10% cash on cash return because he saw what others weren't willing to see. This was on the MLS. He purchased this property, asked us to help manage it. We're helping create the value. We're using our vendors to help build this out for roughly $15,000. And now for him, he's creating tremendous cash flow. You can find this. This is the fourth level of being able to create wealth out of what I call it out of thin air. You can do it through a BRRRR. You can do it through a small little structural change on a property. Of course, I do it on the build to rent. This is going to create roughly for him, as I've backed into what it would equate to in sales value, of about another $125,000 in value out of a $15,000 expense. Roughly an 8x return on that $15,000 created extra equity of another $125,000 on this property, maybe a little bit more, but I'm trying to be conservative. You can find properties like this. They're out there. You've just got to be able to see what others aren't willing to see. There are properties out there. This was on the MLS. This is the skill set as you're moving up to that, what I call it, that MBA level of skill set of wealth creation. Not only did he already create cash flow, but now he created tremendous cash flow well above that 10%, but created instant equity that he didn't have to pay for and put money into this property. Now he's got tremendous return on this asset. You can find this too. This is the level of expertise it takes. You can find this with real estate and create tremendous returns on your money. Decided to go to the office, make a video on the whiteboard with the actual numbers. As I was working on the numbers, I was just slightly off in my description in the previous part of the video, but it's going to be amazing as I was putting the numbers together on a sheet of paper. And I think it's worth seeing up on a whiteboard how powerful the change from a 3-unit to a 5-unit is, comparing the revenue and what the value is going forward. Okay, back here at the office, want to go over the numbers as I've discussed in the other part of the video. And I think as I put it on the board, it becomes even more powerful. Tell you a little bit about this property. This is not in a bad area. I would call this property from age probably a C+ neighborhood, but it is a great, stable, low crime neighborhood in a very good area of this community. So let's go over the numbers. So like we're talking about, this address is 3rd Street. The purchase price was $405,000. The loan at 80%, so they put $81,000 down, closing costs of $6,000. So we've got 3 units, 2 3-bedroom units, 1 2-bedroom unit. Rents on this was $3,800. So principal, interest, taxes and insurance, we're looking at a loan of about, it's a 7.5% loan. Cost on that is $2,963 a month. Now, reserves. Because this is a little bit older property, you absolutely should start at 15% reserves. This is a good practice for your properties to preserve the maintenance of the properties and to have the money. This comes from your renters. You're holding back a portion every month. So you're starting out at 15%. Sometimes if they're even older, maybe you're a little bit higher than 15%, but that covers vacancy, maintenance, and long-term expenses and long-term capital expenditures. So we're putting back $570. What I would suggest for you watching this video, if you're buying a property like this, to start out, you probably should put 1 month's rent to begin funding that reserve account. That should be part of your underwriting process as you're buying the properties. But putting that 1 month's rent and then begin allocating 15% of the rents, not coming from you, but 15% from your renters, funding this account. That helps protect your cash flow, and then the cash flow protects the property. So then if we put in the $570 in, it receives cash flow of $267 a month. Now for 3 units, probably not the best. It's only $89 a door. But what we hold our money accountable, what is our cash on cash return on the $87,000 that we have in the property? So on this property that he bought, his cash on cash return is about average for this area, 3.7%. But like we talked about, you've got to do the work, do the homework. He saw a value add opportunity, and we're able to change this over at the beginning. We're making a few little structural changes. Now we're going to look at the numbers and see what the numbers look like after a short 30-day remodel and redoing this project to make it from a 3-unit project to a 5-unit project. So now we've got 5 units. It's 3 2-bedroom units and 2 one-bedroom units. With the rents, you get a little bit more for that one-bedroom unit proportionally than having the 2 three-bedroom units. Rents now go up. We're at $4,800 a month. Now, does the loan to value change? No, it doesn't. The remodel, it cost about right at $15,000. So we would add that back into the amount of capital you have into the project. So for this remodel, we spent $15,000. So now we're at $102,000, but his loan stayed the same, $2,963. But then we're also doing 15% of the rents allocated, so it changes just a little bit to $720,000. Or sorry, $720 a month. So we have cash flow. Here's the exciting thing. Because we raised the rents and all these others remain pretty consistent, now we go to cash flow of $1,117 a month. That's $224 a door as an average compared to $89 a door, just making this value-add structural change to this property for only $15,000. Now we've got $102,000 in the project. What does it do to our cash-on-cash return? It changes it 13.1% cash-on-cash return. Now that is phenomenal value add. What does it do for the value and all of that? So these are things when you're looking for properties, getting to that mastery level of finding real estate purchases, and from a small little structural change with value add, you're gaining in wealth. So we're going to use the same metrics to the purchase when he first bought it, trying to be conservative and consistent. So the value changes to $512,000 value for a 5-unit with $4,800 a month in rent. That is significant. Over $100,000 in additional equity he built into this property. Now his loan to value, before he was at 80%, now with the new value on this property, making that to a 5-unit, he's at a loan to value of 63%, but he built in all this equity that he didn't have to pay for, that created wealth. I call it creating wealth out of thin air, but also creating cash flow and wealth at the same moment. Then his equity now is $188,000 on this property. So looking at these numbers, it can be done. This was purchased in the last 60 days. People say you can't find properties that cash flow. It can, for those that do the work and have the eyes to see the opportunity and create both wealth and higher cash flow at the same moment. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching to the end. I think putting these numbers up on the whiteboard make it more dramatic and more powerful to see this is what happened. This is the potential for those that have eyes to see to find properties where they can do some form of value add to create more equity, and in this case also created tremendous cash flow and a high cash on cash return. Till next time.